just did a little deep dive, did a lot of chest rotation drills, and that helped. And then sending the video into you definitely helped extremely when it came to just bringing the ball position a little back, getting rid of the shaft lean, and even just that grip drill, or not the grip drill, but just readjusting my grip a bit from,
Mhm.
I believe the right hand was more dominant, or no, it was the left hand was more dominant,
Right.
and just
Yeah.
moving that back and kind of centering that up helped a lot to start online and pull more putts shorter, like shorter putts.
Mhm.
That definitely helped a lot.
Yeah, I think it's funny. Like ball position and grip with the with your putting, it has typically the biggest impact, right? Like I always find for me, anytime my stroke gets off, it's the grip and the ball position, and it's just not having that ability to find the center of the face consistently. Your stroke
Exactly.
has to make compensations, which is what you were basically doing. Like you had a couple things off, and you would do your, I guess your patented Sean shove, right? So,
Yeah.
okay, so talk to me about like what type of coaching did you have leading up to before working with myself, and how was that experience for good or worse?
So yeah, in my high school days, kind of when I wasn't taking golf extremely seriously, so it was probably about 8 years ago. I was
Hmm.
just kind of going around playing all the time, and then my coaches would be the typical, you got to learn the bump and run, all this stuff, just typical old guy coach. And then a little after that,
Old guy coaching.
when exactly, and then a little after that, when COVID hit, I kind of decided to take it real seriously, and that would have been my last year of high school. And just kind of then I believe I sent an email to you about an email lesson. That's kind of when we first
Hmm.
started, I guess. So that was an email lesson back then. And that's when I didn't my swing, I could hit the ball straight, but I wasn't consistent whatsoever. My swing wasn't very good. And then after that, kind of there's a guy from my hometown. I think he was playing at a +7 handicap at the time, trying to make it on tour.
Wow, that's
And he was
impressive.
back, exactly. And he was back home being our assistant pro. And literally every day I'd go out and play with him and just kind of pick his brain. He was kind of my swing coach at the time, but he
Hmm.
was more of a course management coach, if anything. And just learning from him from my freshman to sophomore year of college now. So about 2.5, 3 years ago. Yeah, I guess 3 years ago. He definitely took my game from like, I mean, my freshman year, I think I was averaging 86, 80, 85. And then my sophomore year, I came in the fall and averaged, I think it was a 75. So, and now
That's a
we're
big
kind of
jump.
back. Exactly. And then kind of let things slide, didn't really work on my swing too much in the winter time. Spring wasn't very good, and then that summer I just basically just fell apart. I ended up like scoring my best that I ever have, but my swing just felt terrible. I was getting this consistent pull draw which I could play, but
Hmm.
and then so me and you kind of got involved with each other. And then that definitely, this year in particular, this summer, I guess we started probably really going hard in February, January or February.
Yeah, about then.
And,
Yeah.
and we got, when I guess, honestly, kind of October-ish is when we started to, interview each other, or I guess talk to each other. But January and February in particular, we got a new facility with two simulators and all this stuff. So I was
Mhm.
grinding on the swing then. Didn't really see too much improvement until this summer. And this summer was just crazy how good my game felt compared to years past. It felt like I was at my prime form 2 years ago when I literally could not shape the ball. I could only hit a ball straight. That's just how good my swing felt. And it felt like this summer I was back there with my swing. Putting wasn't necessarily great, but I've never been really a great putter. But short
Mhm.
game, everything felt just great when it came to, sending lessons to you, you giving me the feedback and just understanding the basic fundamentals helped me extremely. Just taking a step back, and you preach that quite a bit, just understanding the fundamentals. So that's
Mhm.
definitely helped me a lot to get to the point where this fall was some of the best scoring I've ever had. And it didn't even feel like my game was at its best,
I'd agree.
scoring
Yeah.
wise.
Mhm. I think your
But
potential is still. I always say still in the 60s, right, for you. So,
exactly.
but
And
that's. I mean, so I guess from that's great that you kind of it's cool to hear your kind of whole story. And like what I guess technically, like from your perspective, from what I gave you, what needed to change, and what changes did you really work hard on from what we worked off of?
I honestly, I still do it today. The towel drill and just upper body connection like
Hmm.
changed my swing like unbelievably with face control and being able to just feel where the club is, like proprioception wise,
Hmm.
while in the swing. That helped like immensely. And then just working on, the elbow alignment, I guess.
Hmm.
That might be the term for it.
Yeah,
Just
like you're
keeping
talking
that,
in your posture, right? And like getting the lead arm more internal.
yeah, yeah, lead arm
Mhm.
more internal and external on the other arm. But yeah, it that helped just immensely as well. It seemed just to kind of in my ball striking keep it consistent because later in this fall season, as I said, sprained my wrist. I didn't have any range sessions, but I knew that if I kept this elbow solid and this arm in the position it needed to be, I would be able to hit the ball well, which was the case. And I didn't
Mhm.
even practice for 3 weeks, and I was hitting the ball as good as I ever have.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point. Like, just about getting the simple stuff like arm connection. Like you'd think it would be based upon the changes you made. We've done this complete overhaul in your swing, but it's really been more like you were already an athletic kid. You had an incredible athletic ability. You had played well before, and it
Mhm.
was just about connecting all the pieces, right? I mean, it's different for certain golfers. Like some guys I work with, they don't have that athletic ability, so you have to build them from the ground up. But a lot of times, if the body is firing the way it should be. I mean, there's a couple things we had to optimize. Then a
Exactly.
lot of it was just getting the hand and the arm connection better, and um, that's cool that you kind of stuck to the process. And I think that's the one thing I noticed about you versus some of my other clients. And no disrespect to some other clients, but you were disciplined to the process. Like you didn't. You're not the type of guy to tinker and like try all these different things, at least from what I see. Maybe on the
Yeah.
back end
No,
you're
no,
not.
it's exactly how you see it from surface value. Like
Yeah.
legitimately during this summer, it was probably 3 weeks straight where I just did the towel drill every day. I don't even know if I touched the driver at all. And that helped me just immensely. And
Hmm.
working on banking the ankle too, I think has helped me like with rotation and everything else up the chain.
Yeah. Well, what I noticed too, the more you worked on that lower body stuff, it kept you in your side bend and kept you more in your like in the tilt of your spine, which you had always had that problem of kind of coming up out of it. And I still think it's something we can continue to optimize. But
Exactly.
I definitely, it's cool to see like at like when you're at a competitive level, you can actually aesthetically see a difference in the swing visually, where some guys you really can't, right? So I guess the next question would be like, what did you like about the online mentorship, and did you have any skepticism about doing online coaching before?
Yeah, coming from the background of having, an in-person coach all the time, I was kind of clutching at straws to try and find something to help my game and
Hmm.
came across you on Instagram. And I mean, we already worked prior. So I was like, why not, give it a try. We'll see how this works. But yeah, just having the confidence because I mean, you have the certification of Scott Cowks. Is that correct? Right.
Yeah, Scout Cows. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Just having that confidence coming into it definitely helped me a lot. And there was a little bit of skepticism at first because we don't know each other personally. And that's the only thing I've
Yeah.
ever known,
Hmm.
is playing golf with someone all the time and them helping me out. So, but just having the ability to send in swings and stroke and just anything, just being able to chat every once in a while about the game,
Hmm.
shoot ideas back and forth has definitely helped my game and my mentality throughout the past 2.5 years, I'd say.
For sure. Well, yeah, I think the online can be at times a tough sell because we don't get to build that in person rapport, right?
Mhm.
And I do think that Zoom lessons where like you're hitting on a monitor, I'm just watching you like in this format, they don't really work all that well because it's happening at such a fast rate and the swing is
Mhm.
so slow. But what I've liked about the online and is that especially with you is you would always send me swings and then I would get to see your ball flight on the launch monitor, or we would actually get this I would actually get to see ball flight.
Yeah.
And then the good thing about our online relationship is that there was always a bit of a back and forth where in an in-person lesson you would take it. I always experience this in an in-person lesson too. You'd take the lesson and then you'd see your coach in 2 or 3 weeks or a month and you'd hope that you're working on the right things. Also on top of
Exactly.
that too, like you could ask me, hey, I need a specific practice plan and then let's follow up with it and let's keep up with it, which you definitely did. So it's I think it is the future of coaching, in my opinion, especially if you can couple it with launch monitor data and you're at a baseline level competent with technology, which you are.
Yeah, yeah.
So what did you like about the short game help that we worked off of?
Yeah, and the short game help, I was kind of in shambles as well there. Just contact wise, getting a clean contact point wasn't really my expertise, I'd say. It never has been, but it
Hmm.
definitely just once again, towel drill, working on chest rotation. I just think the towel drill is probably the most overpowered thing when it comes to connection in general. And
Hmm.
it's done wonders. It literally has just changed my game. But
Hmm.
yeah, and then ever since, Joseph Mayo got big, kind of doing the attack angle stuff right now, or I guess in the past months, just working on that has helped my, contact
Hmm.
extremely. So, and it's tough for us because we up here in North Dakota, we might have, 5 months of golf, 6 months of golf, and we're supposed to get a winter storm here in about a day. So that's great.
Yeah,
But
that's sorry to hear, buddy.
so yeah, so the golf season's already done, but
Yeah.
it's tough chipping inside because it's not actual grass. The turf
Yeah.
skips a lot more. It doesn't spin as much,
Hmm.
it seems, and so it's been tough to kind of negate that. But just having the confidence in my contact has helped immensely,
Definitely.
I'd say.
Hmm. Yeah, I think with contact, like getting that better, it gives you more options with what clubs you want to take, even though I usually say like, hey, just hit your lob wedge. But it just makes distance control that much easier because you know what you're coming out with every time with your contact, as opposed to
Yeah,
having to kind of will it to the hole, right?
yeah,
And what I noticed about you is as you were very disciplined working on your technique, and then you didn't have to make as many compensations with like in particular the putting stuff where the ball position was too far forward and you were leaning the shaft. You got the ball position more in the back and neutral, and the stroke started to look a lot better. I even noticed that where it didn't necessarily look like you were trying to manipulate your technique, but it was getting
yeah,
better, right? And I still think it's something that that's kind of our next pillar to break down, is really getting you to the point where you're tour level with your putting, to
yeah,
kind of match it with your ball striking, right?
yeah.
So I guess you we kind of talked about this before the call, but where were the scores before the mentorship, and where were they at by the end of the season?
So yeah, as I was saying, kind of last year, my junior year of college, kind of in shambles. I think my scoring average was right around mid 82, I believe is what I finished at through the fall and the spring. And right now, throughout the summer, ever since my conference championship, and this now would have been last March, and disregarding my wrist injury, I literally have not shot over an 80 since then. Legitimately have not shot over an 80 in competition since
That's a good
seven
feeling, man.
months ago. Yeah. So I mean, it's just been extreme. Like my floor is so much higher than what it used to be, which
Yeah.
is really all you need in golf. I mean, if that floor gets higher, everything else, the ceiling gets higher. I shot my best I ever have. It was right before our qualifying, so early August. Shot a 67 out here on the home course, or our home college course,
Yeah.
and I was just making putts all over the place. So it was everything kind of fell in place that day. So
Mhm.
just trying to have more days like that, like very rare, but just trying to have more days like that, and that's happened more often since joining the mentorship.
That's awesome, buddy. Yeah, I mean, you're so right about the floor and the ceiling stuff. Like, golf is a game of misses at the end of the day, and
Mhm.
if your bad golf is somewhat scoreable, then it gives you that confidence to know even if you lose a couple of shots on the front nine, you're going to get it back on the back, or you'll just be able to keep that momentum going. And that was kind of the secret to Tiger's career, is he always was able to turn a 77 or a 78 into a 72, and
Yeah,
and then he'd go on to shoot a 67 to 66. So I think seeing that you haven't shot over 80 this year in a tournament, I don't think people understand how good that is. Like, it's one thing to be able to do that in recreational golf, but to
mhm.
do it under college pressure, and not shoot over 80, especially towards the end of the year as you were dealing with a wrist injury, I think is pretty impressive, bud. So uh, you should definitely be proud of yourself, and not hard on yourself, and realize that you've made those you've made the leap, and now the next step is you're right around the corner of shooting in the 60s regularly, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And
Get
that's
that tour card eventually.
that'd be nice. That's for sure. There's a lot of
Yeah,
grinding for that. But
for
yeah,
sure.
and that's honestly kind of why I think I joined the mentorship is I knew my game and my mentality was, there, but some of the pieces were missing and having an outside source like yourself coming in and has definitely helped uh,
Mhm.
quite a bit in taking my game from the level it was back to what it was to now. And
Mhm.
excuse me, my
All
floor is
good.
just like we said, my floor is just it's so high. I feel like I can shoot in the 60s, but it hasn't happened in a while. I'm sure it'll come eventually, but it's all about
Yeah,
patience in this game.
it'll come. I mean, golf improvement it's not as cyclical as people would like to think it is. Like it's not this linear path that you take where, oh, this year you shoot in the 80s, and then the next year it's 80, the next year it's 75, next year it's and on and on. It's up and down. It's just making, over 3 to 5 years making that net improvement, which I think you have, right? Because to me, the years that mean more, the years where you can bounce back from a bad year, versus, because you like it really does make you more resilient. It makes you realize like on a small level, even if you get off to a bad start, let's say you make a triple on the first hole, you know that you can come back, make some birdies, get yourself back in order. And
Mm-hmm.
you've created with this year, and it's something to keep in mind, like reflecting on your year and really taking those detailed notes because you've created a pathway to better golf, and it's not just like kind of guessing your way through it, right? You actually have some that towel, even the towel drill is something you can always use as your anchor point,
Yeah.
and realize like, okay, if I get a little bit off, go back to the towel drill, go back to the fundamentals that we worked off of, and
Yeah.
you'll find your good golf a lot quicker, and basically just avoiding the rut, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I think for a lot of golfers, it's just finding that one thing you can go back to. Like you said, for me, it's the towel drill. And
yeah,
when we previously worked with the email lesson, when I was, I guess, a freshman in college, it was doing, I think it was like this and then swinging. It might have been something similar to that. So I would have the club in it might have been the left hand and having the arm under the elbow and then going
my
into the
memory's so bad,
backswing.
buddy. I
Oh
wish I
yeah,
would know.
I
I have to
know.
pull up the
I
notes.
literally I was
Yeah,
looking at my email way back then just to, bring up some stuff for this. And
yeah,
you told me to do one of the drills. It was once again upper body connection. And that's
yeah.
when I struck the ball the best. It was just crazy. And I would always go back to that drill. And then I lost that sense of doing that and then
Hmm.
went into a rut. So
And
it's
I think
always
it's
just going
just
back.
a lot of that is your style, like because you're like, how tall are you, Sean? Again,
6'3".
you're
So
6'3". Like you're a taller guy, so like if your arms are disconnected, then you're in trouble, right? Where someone
mhm.
like me who's short and stumpy, like my arms are always connected, right?
Yeah.
And so I need to do better at stuff like shifting and like transferring my weight and rotation, because my arms generally don't fly off my body like you have the tendency to. So that's kind of a part of the coaching that I always look at. Is not There's no model that we work off of. It's really just trying to figure out based upon your body type, based upon the way you're missing, based on what your launch monitor data is giving us, how do we tighten
Yeah.
everything up, right? Which, is always it's always going to be the pursuit, right?
Hmm.
It'd be nice if we all had that perfect golf body, but I don't think it exists.
No, yeah, I don't think it does either.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Well, yeah, awesome, buddy. Okay, I think that's about it now, dude. I really
Okay.
appreciate you coming on, buddy. That means a lot.
Yeah, no
What
problem.